Welcome back, top performer. Can you imagine taking a flight to Mexico expecting some tropical paradise but ending up in the middle of the Chihuahuan desert? Chihuahuan? You get the point. Well, this is what happens to a lot of people in their careers. You accept a job that sounds lovely, but then you get there and find that you're parched for growth, hurting for autonomy, and scratching your head on why you're struggling to advance. Well, in this video, we're going to touch on two critical things to assess to make sure the opportunity you're pursuing is going to best position you for the long term. While the first one may seem obvious, people tend to compromise this early in their careers, and to be honest, often even up until retirement, which is why so many people are unhappy. Now, I'm talking about your values and how they line up to those of the company that you are employed. It is unlikely that during an interview, a future boss or human resources is going to say, we need you to do illegal things here. Maybe we're going to micromanage you into the wee hours of the night. Oh, and we're going to laugh as we treat anyone around us like small pieces of poo. But here's the thing, it's often not until we've been in a job that we start to see the real culture emerge, not the one they told us about in the interview. But often, because of our lizard brain, we compromise our values and stick it out. Now, if you're shaking your head and saying, no way, Jose, great. But the reality is we usually compromise one thing and then another thing and then another until that stack weighs on our happiness. I was once in a role where my boss would mute the phone while banging it against the desk and swear at the person on the other side, all while smiling. Not healthy. I got out of there as soon as I could.
That's a good idea.
It's difficult to be successful in an environment where your values are misaligned with that of the company. While you may want that next promotion, if the environment is not a match, you'll likely be fighting an uphill battle and dragging yourself down trying to fit in if you value significantly different things. The most obvious example of value misalignment have the risk of being legal issues like sexual harassment and theft. But there are also others like lack of autonomy, a work-life balance, low pay, not wanting projects assigned at 9 p.m. at night. It could also be honesty issues and a boss or company that do not follow through on their word while tethering you along. It may also be as simple as wanting to make a bigger impact related to social cause, and this role doesn't provide you that, as you may have originally thought when you first applied for the role and accepted it. You may be able to put up with a career that doesn't align with your values for a short period of time, but is going to be a drag on your happiness and therefore your success. The longer you have to put up with it, the more it will come crumbling down as anxiety, frustration, and unhappiness. Some value misalignments can be worked around or boundaries set, like that you don't answer your phone after 6 p.m. But if your colleagues do, you are now the one person not giving as much as they are. It impacts your image. You're going to have to now outperform everyone else to minimize how this impacts your brand in a team of call me as late as you want, I'm always on. Better to align with a company that matches your values, as it will be 10 times easier to advance your career. You must know what you are and aren't willing to compromise on. Please don't just keep pushing through despite what you know isn't a good situation, as before you know it, 5 years will have passed you by. You need to be an owner and a victor and drive your career elsewhere. I knew this couple who dated for over 6 years. They knew they weren't going to be together long term, but it was so comfortable, so they stuck with it. Eventually, 9 years passed and then 11. They eventually called it quits when one of them fell for someone else. Unfortunately, we humans don't take action until we get pushed by enough pain or pleasure. This goes for a relationship with a human or with the job. If you follow the same pattern with your job, how many opportunities will pass you by? In addition to analyzing that the company you're working for has values aligned with yours, you also want to assess if the opportunity you are pursuing is going to be the best position for you in the long term. You should consider another major point. When we want to improve our value to our organization, we gravitate toward the skills we need to develop, working extra hours or increasing our responsibilities. We miss the secret hiding in plain sight. Where are the opportunities? If you want to accelerate your career, you must aim for the right environments, which are high visibility. You're either driving or protecting revenue. Budgets flow there, and therefore, so do more opportunities. What do I mean by budgets flow there? Well, budgets flow where there are opportunities to generate more money. Think of a department or function with the ability to generate a high return. Examples might include new services or products, or where the return on investment is higher than other products or services and the business wants to capitalize on that. The business leadership is investing more, it means more earnings and more growth opportunities for the people involved in that work, hopefully you. Early in my career, it was the explosion of DVD that was filling the money bags for studios and bringing in $16 billion in a single year. People who were involved in that benefited greatly. Here are some core high growth areas to look out for. New product development, where you're launching new products or services that can drive growth for a company. Expanding into new markets, an area rapidly growing its market share. Diversification effort because a company knows they got to pivot for the future success. New technology adoption, Embracing technology and digital tools can help a company streamline operations and improve efficiency, ultimately leading to growth. Innovation. Investing in research and development and introducing innovative products or processes can also drive growth. Leading mergers and acquisitions. When you spend billions, you need it to be successful. You must remember though, where budgets flow today, they may not tomorrow. Take for example, Alexa, which was a huge focus for Amazon for years, but later became ground zero for layoffs as it fell out of favor. Key here is to look for departments or divisions that have high growth ahead of them, as the likelihood of growth, promotions, and steeper pay raises will be greater. They are often the areas where companies are taking big bets, and when they do, it's often other areas that get squeezed and make a promotion more difficult. On the flip side of this, we should also approach budget flows with this in mind. You shouldn't discount an area that might be struggling, assuming it is still a priority for the company. These are areas or lines of businesses that are in need of a rescue, because it may lose money if it's not rescued. You're looking for areas of the business that have been underperforming and now require revitalization. Leadership may seek out top talent to take charge or be part of the charge to turn these areas around. Successfully reviving a growth area will significantly increase your chance for a promotion. I think it's worth highlighting one other thing that can matter a lot during a rescue situation. Often companies will boomerang their in-source and outsource strategy, meaning one day it's cheaper to leverage its volumes to negotiate a killer rate with an external company, and a few years later they decide with new automation technology it makes more sense to in-source it again. That is until 2 years later when those vendors adopt the automation and it makes sense to outsource it once more. You want to be in the role where you are driving the insourcing or outsourcing, not the one whose work is impacted. You want to work on the supply chain and not in the assembly line. Here's a good example of a rescue opportunity I took on. On multiple occasions, there were departments within my organizations that were losing money, and they were struggling to scale. On each occasion, I improved efficiency and introduced new technologies to make them more efficient. On average, $1 saved is equal to approximately $10 sold, assuming a 10% return on investment. If you are in an area that isn't a growth area or in need of a rescue, then getting a promotion and raise can be a lot like pushing a boulder up a hill. If you aren't in an area that is a priority for your company, you have less promotion dollars, less opportunities, and less visibility. The optimal scenario is you positioning yourself for an area that is a top priority for the company. Now, if you're not in one of these growth areas, it's not the end of the world, but it does mean that you want to position yourself for an area that is a top priority for the company. So how do you determine if you are in one of these high opportunity areas? Well, there are 2 questions that you can ask to help identify these top priority areas and the associated opportunities. Question 1, which product or service is the most important for the company's growth in the next 2 years? Question 2, is there an area that is struggling that needs to be turned around? You can answer these questions yourself or reach out to a mentor or consider looking at your company's financial statements. In fact, you'll see this as an action in your action plan. If you are already well versed, you can ignore it. If you are not, it is a great opportunity to further your business acumen, network, and find your next level opportunity. You can spend years in an area striving for growth, but if it is not a growth area, your odds of achieving your goals are low. You may make some progress, but it will be nothing compared to the progress you will make in an area of growth. So choose your next level job wisely. You need to determine if the job that you are targeting for your next level role survives the dead-end job test. Your goal is to have 2 yeses. If not, you don't pass the dead-end job test. Here are the questions. Are your values aligned enough with your boss or company in the role you are targeting? Yes or no? If it's a no, you probably need to be dating someone else. Second question, you would want a yes in one of these. Are there opportunities to justify promotion or raise in the role you are targeting? Which would come in the form of, are you in a growing division that your company is investing in, and can you help it grow? Yes or no? The second part of this is, are you in a division that has been identified as in need of a rescue, which you can play a significant role in? If you answered yes to values and to either being in a growth area or in need of a rescue, then congratulations. If your next level job does not pass the dead-end job test, then you should consider it a win that you've identified that. If you stay in the department that doesn't align with your aspirations or values, you'll be less likely to achieve your goals. What you have to decide now if you want to stay your course or identify a different next level role that will better align with your goals and values. Whatever you decide, remember that sometimes what feels like taking a step back can now lead to a leap forward in the future. If you're still a bit unclear on where your department falls in the dead-end job test, feel free to reach out to our community for guidance. You may also get the additional clarity you need later when you tee up some career conversations with your boss. That's the end of the section. I'll see you at the top. That's it for this lesson. I hope you found it valuable. If so, this is one of the core lessons from my Career Accelerator system. If you want the full course with the workbook, scripts, and bonus tools, you can get access at careeraccelerator.me. Or you can dive into the next lesson